What's up, fam? You can't have all the work and no play, and the universe is a play as well. You know what I'm saying? So we might as well dance a little bit with the universe and have fun today, and crabby assholes and all. Let's just go. Right. So I want to talk about some of the do's and don'ts of being in a relationship with another divine being, spiritual being, psychic, medium, healer, D, all of the above, et cetera, et cetera. When you're in a spiritual relationship, man, every experience you realize is of value in one way or another. Yeah, we all have our personal experiences, but in the relationship space, we have fucking our experiences as well, not only as individual human beings, but as being a couple and being in a relationship. Now, here's where it gets funny. Okay. One of the things that you shouldn't do when you're in a spiritual relationship is lie and hide things, because when you happen to date a prophet, psychic, medium, healer, etc., or be married to one, in my case, you are completely transparent. Okay. If you've ever heard the theory through the looking glass, just remember that everything is out in the open, whether you like it or not, because you're in union with another. You know what I'm saying? You guys are bouncing energies off each other. And if you're willing to look, which usually a psychic, medium, healer, et cetera, can see, the difference. Remember that you will be met with the vibrational challenges that you offer and you come to the table with, right? So if you're having a bad day and you just so happen to walk through the door with the energy that you were supposed to leave behind, because mind you, we're supposed to be on our P's and Q's here, right? Then the shitty day that you were wearing that you're not really paying attention to because all you want to do is go home ends up in the house, right? And what do psychic medium healers, prophets, pick up on? Energy, right? So, do be mindful of the energy that you carry, at all times, because being completely transparent and vulnerable is really hard to do, especially when you come from trauma and you go into a relationship where there's just an open table for you to be you, and then all your guts spill out on the fucking table during that time of healing, because the purity of love demands it, because you're in love with one another. That's how it all starts. That's a spark, man. But nobody understands that they got to maintain the flame. It's a constant, it's a balance, it's a dance, it's a back and forth like no other. It's beautiful being in union with another being. You know what I'm saying? With all due respect, I feel that to the deep of to my soul, man. You know, and I think it's important for people to realize is, hey, bro, there's no more hiding, there's no more lying, there's no more. Just leave it all out in the open. Get it out already. If you really love each other and you believe in love itself, because you are, then you'll honor the connection for the purity that it brings. Boom. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. You know, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Creator. Whichever way you want to say that, because these things are important, Salah. Praise for yourself, too. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're in a relationship. So lying, no. Vulnerability has to be. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you have to be a crying, whiny person all the damn time and just literally, I got to pour out all my emotions because that's what Jose said to do. No, no. You have to find a balance within yourself. One of the reasons you're pouring out all of these emotions is because it's obvious that there's an imbalance in that space. You know what I'm saying? This is couples relationship stuff, bro. Come see us. Okay. We are fire in that space. If you are dating, you're in a personal relationship with another spiritual being, and things usually get standoffish and you don't know why. If you're not studying your astrology, then I don't why, or maybe not. Strong possibilities because of the astrology, but also if you're like in tune with one another, bro, but you can't get past something. You know what I'm saying? You want things to be different. You want things to look a certain way. I have to tell you from personal experience, you got to learn how to trust the process and open up yourself to a vulnerability like no other. And then you're going to fumble fuck the words anyway. Okay. Because it's all going to come. Okay. You're in the presence of a healer in those moments when you know what I'm saying? You got to remember these things, dude. It's usually after the fact, but here we go. This is why we're laughing about it, because the truth is funny once you realize what it is and you no longer sit with the emotion that keeps you in some type of carnal state where you're, no, it is. So therefore, let it be, right? Is what the creator says. So you have to understand that healing and whatever healing, and this is what I tell people all the time. What we tell people all the time in the mentorship space is like, hey, remember, it's a completely different dynamic when you take the next step in your life and you decide to be in a relationship with spirituality involved. It means that where two become one becomes the sum. So there has to be a balance and of the in between. So we have to learn how to give and take until there's no more take, and all we do is just give to each other. We pour into one another from divine grace and wisdom. We're honoring the blessings of the moment that are bestowed before us because we have a divine partner, somebody, a ride or die, somebody that's going to come. Somebody's got your fucking back, bro. When the hell have you ever really had that? It was one of the things that I realized. I never really had someone have my back till I realized that she had my back. Yeah, bro. The spirit even showed it to me back to back. This is how you deal with the world now, together, right? You know, yeah, we can do things independently. That's part of our teachings. We have to learn these things. We come from the independent space to be in a codependent, not a codependent. Hold on. Interdependent space where you're relying on one another, where you trust one another, where you allow those things to be what they are and trust the natural process of how your relationship evolves. Because number one, you realize that you can't lie. Number two, vulnerability is key. Three, communication. It has to be open communication. You just can't put your walls up and expect to get somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You can't. When you're in that moment, when you're defensive with your fucking partner, she can't hear you or he can't hear you. Okay. The only thing that you're facing is your own trigger, your trauma, your reflection, because now you have put your walls up and all that you see is that pain, that trauma, that fear. Yeah. Play with it. You know what I'm saying? Because we know what we're saying here because it's happening to a lot of you, you know, which ends up to spiritual delulu and a lot of other unfortunate things that we don't necessarily have to, that we can pass on. You know what I'm saying? That we don't have to experience those things no more when we allow ourselves to kind of like go to the other side with some sense of self-control and balance and allow ourselves to enjoy something for a change. Embrace that aspect of your relationship, the parts that bring you love, the parts that bring you joy, the parts that bring you peace. You know what I'm saying? So I'd have to say that number 4 or number 5 would be seeking together. You know what I'm saying? Just understand that you are on your pathways that are intertwined. So don't be surprised when the fish swim away from each other. This is the dance, people, that we talk about. This is how we are intertwined. You know what I'm saying? And those are the beauties that you discover in your life, and you see the dance and the they're using some type of sound term. It's like sonus or sound. I know it's related to frequency and the smoothness of it and the flow of it. That and they're trying to beat my head with it, but apparently it's a word I do not know because it's not from here. It's sonus is what I'm hearing, man. This must be some interstellar stuff, you know? Cosmic is what I'm being told, you know? So as you're doing the dance of love, of light, of life, you know what I'm saying? There's always you understand that it's a constant, you know? I'm not saying that one of you always has to consistently pick one up from the floor, bro, when you guys are trying to figure yourselves the fuck out because now you're in a relationship and you feel like you don't know shit. You know what I'm saying? That's like, you know, for a man, for me to be a man, I didn't know what a woman was, man. You know, I didn't really have, I didn't know what a woman was in a relationship, someone that you can marry. Because most times, you know, generational conditioning, I'll have you marrying your mom in a different body, you know? That's my experience. It could be your dad, whatever. So back to what we were saying is like this is such a different thing. This is a sacred, divine relationship. These are two healers coming together, two psychics, two mediums, or a psychic media healer, prophets, whatever. You know what I'm saying, et cetera. Shamans. We come from different lineages to intertwine with one another. We come from different belief systems to learn about one another. These are the paths that we all share, and that's why we have a tendency to cross paths and then no longer, because you only come into someone's life when it's appropriate. Honor the dance, right, of the relationship space, because a lot of people do, and we deal with clients like this all the time. It's like, yes, you have figured yourself out, right? And you feel like dating again, or you feel like getting into a relationship, or you feel like you're ready for the next step. The mountain, it's the story of the hermit. The hermit gets to the top of the mountain, sits there, and then realizes that there's another mountain to climb, but is humbled by knowing the direction. You know what I'm saying? It all depends on how you read the cards. I have to tell you, that was my interpretation in this moment. You know, yeah, I get it. So when it comes to being in like a union space or twin flames or whichever way you want to call it, man, just remember the first thing that's going to come out, first thing that usually comes out when you get together is the purity of the connection, right? And then as you engage in the relationship, it becomes the purity of the soul. Everything that's layered on top of it that these two souls in union don't need. And that's why we walk away from toxic relationships. That's why we get triggered. And that's why we run away time and time again, because even in the spiritual side, you know what I'm saying? There's that survival instinct that we carried from the fucking past that we don't even realize that we're using until somebody says something about it. Them, us, we, the universe. So, you know, these are some of the things that I've realized and observed along my way. My wife and I have, my wife's my teacher. You know what I'm saying? She's taught me a great many things. She taught me what a woman actually was. You know what I'm saying? Besides my mom, that's different. That's not. But the woman that you marry, you know what I'm saying? Or the man that you marry, there's a purity of connection. It always starts with the pureness of connection. It shouldn't be out of lust or anything like that. I'm going to be honest with you. Oh, I got to have that. No, that's not it. It's a connection. It's a feeling within you that drives you uncontrollably. Yeah, even me, I was like, I don't want anything to do with this. I was like, I'm never getting married again after this shit. No. Sure shit. I meet someone that never wants to get married again, and here we are. It was that spitefulness that literally kind of kept me away from the opportunity of having a real spiritual relationship. You know what I'm saying? I kept myself out of the loop, but there was nothing I could do about this. When you're connected like that to somebody, and it happens to a lot of you, whether you're conscious or not, it's a feeling inside of you that it's almost uncontrollable. It can be borderline obsessive if you don't know what you're doing or you're out of control, to be honest with you, because it's just so good, right? And then you embrace the goodness, and then it purifies you, and then the distaste and the disdain come in. It's almost immediately, only to show you the things that don't belong in this relationship. I know this is going to blow some heads, bro. Share this motherfucker with anybody you think it would resonate with, that resonates with this message right here, because it's really important. One of the reasons why we're fighting each other is we don't know where we're mirroring each other. And here we are, just bouncing energies off each other uncontrollably. Let's be more mindful. So I would say that those are kind of like, the beginning to a list of many do's and don'ts in a relationship space, or for those who are considering it. because self work is key, bro. You don't really need anybody in this world, but I'll tell you what, it's nice to have one. It's nice to have a partner. It's nice to have somebody that you can bounce back and forth with. It's nice to have that open table where you could be your spiritual self and allow yourself to express yourself and still have a balanced and grounded perspective on the other side of the fence when you're up in the cosmos. You know what I'm saying? You can't have one without the other. You cannot have the ether without the earth. Okay. And each and every one of you are intertwined between that understanding, that understanding and that connection. You know? And if you find it in yourself, you'll also find it in another. And if you find it in another, eventually you will find it in yourself, like I did. You know what I'm saying? God is everywhere, bro, especially in your relationships too, because the purity of love is what's setting you free. But it's gonna heal all your fucking traumas and triggers along the way. And you gotta honor that, because if you don't, you're just gonna have to do it all over again somewhere else or with another. Who wants that when we can be happy and free? You know, it's like, yeah, I'll take that, Jose. I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah, it's as easy as saying yes to God and allowing that to purify you as well. Okay. Because trusting in the divine, trusting in spirit, being one with the creator requires a surrender like no other. But you have to surrender all your concepts and beliefs of things that are not you. So on a grander scale, you look at what's happening. This is creation. And these are the ladders or the dimensions or the portals or the gateways that we have access to, that we come to understand these things in a great many ways. And it could be just one thing, because it is. Simplify complexity is what I like to say. Okay. And that's exactly what we're doing in our life. That's exactly what we do in a relationship space. You know what I'm saying? And then guess what shows up when there's no complexity anymore? It's the smoothness of life, the transition that most feel when they're going from one place to another, when they're transitioning. You know what I'm saying? There's a sense of freedom and weightlessness that carries you to the other space, right? But when you realize that you don't need your space, you need your inner space, then it creates the atmosphere around you that you get to enjoy while everybody does everything that they're doing in their lives to get where they need to go. You know what I'm saying? And we help each other along the way. So it's all succession. But at the same time, yes, this is about relationships. This is about the relationship with yourself. And this is also about the relationship with another, because they are one and the same. What you are is what you bring to the table. Authentic truth or the latter, the lie. So, when it comes to being in a relationship, man, just enjoy the ride, dude, because there is just as much laughter as there is pain sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's the joys that God's teaching us to focus on now, because we've been wounded. We've gone through it. It was a struggle. You know what I'm saying? We fucked up and we know it, and repented and forgave and let go. And now it's like, hey, you don't have to hold on to your fucking safety pillow so tight. I got you. And my wife did that for me too. And so did God. And that's how I saw God in my wife, because God is in all of us. And then now I see it in myself. So, and this is one of the reasons why I come here, and here I am. This is what I do. You need help? Absolutely. How can I help you? Just remember, it's divine. It says it's not about me, it's about you. I just become the mirror in which you get to see yourself, that allows you to see what is versus what isn't. Ask a mentee, they'll tell you it. Blow up the comments, fam. You know what I'm saying? If you're listening or watching this, till the end, and you have actual patience. I think start there on your list of to dos, or if you're considering it, you are what you bring to the table. All right. Let it be the best version of you. Salah, let it be the best version of you and open up to the higher you, the real you, and let it set you free instead of wanting to control everything and wanting to make sense of everything. And when God's actually telling you, let it go right now in this moment, right? When you open your heart, this is experience, fam. When you open that heart space, wherever you want to be, okay? When you open your heart, it shows you where you are versus what you believe. And they're not necessarily, that's not necessarily the truth. One of them is the truth. The other one is the untruth that usually, and this brings us pain, is the one that is not a part of us anymore. You know what I'm saying? And that's what God is saying, release. It's an opportunity, And kind of like we were talking about trauma in relationship. Yes, understand that this works in many aspects of our lives because it's really important for us to understand these things, especially if we are sovereign, sacred, divine beings as such. You know what I'm saying? Everything is energy. Energy is conscious. Energy is sacred. Sacred is also you. So sometimes you just got to look at the mind and be like, nah, that's a fucking fact. And I'm holding on to it, baby. Fuck that shit. I'm not playing this head game anymore. Just like cycles, loops, and patterns. Talked about it yesterday. So, you know, I love this shit. I really do. And I can't tell you how much I love being on the mic and just allowing flow. There's so much fucking freedom in it, you know? Salah, it's a blessing, man. Enjoy it when you feel it because every one of these videos is something that you can feel, something that resonates deeply inside of you in one way or another, something that triggers a spark. Even if it's angry, it's still something in you that you can discover about yourself that can set you free. Mm, I love that. Thank you. I I don't want to make too long of a video, man, because I could do this shit for hours, apparently, is what I feel. So I'm gonna let you all go, man. And I hope you appreciate the beauty of insight that we love to share on this page, the divine and I, So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support. Please share, like, comment, man. I want to hear some feedback from people. I know we're all going through another version of the same thing, man. You know what I'm saying? We're here to help one another. We're not here to bash each other or fucking keep each other down, bro. Stop living labels and stop identifying with shit that don't serve you because it makes you feel a certain type of way. Not everything is good for you, you know? Be on the lookout for that. Take care. Till next time, fam. Peace.